Hello everyone, today we're going to take a look at the application of Puro with a technique quite interesting, I would say. Now, at first, over the primer, what I'm going to apply is Puro diluted with about 25% of water. The color, the first color, is the 15026. It's a light color and I'm using it mostly as a background. Now, when it comes to the application techniques, of course, you can go also with a roller. With a roller it comes a bit more moved, let's call it this way, the texture. With a brush we have much finer surface, and it is quite a nice technique because it is quite traditional. Remember just to cross over the product, so you just smooth a little bit the movements, and try always to keep the movements in all the directions, so try to not be schematic in a way, so always cross it over. Okay, let's let it dry, and we can proceed with the second layer as soon as it is dry. Okay, here we have the first layer dry, and this was the previous surface with a primer, and here you can take a look on the differences with just one layer. It has quite a nice hiding power. Now, proceeding with the second layer, what we will do is use a stencil. Of course, we're going with this stencil, but it doesn't have to be this one. Any stencil, I think, works well. On the second layer, what we're doing is change the color. Precisely on the second layer here, we're using the EP15039. And yet again, we use the brush. Now, to stay still with the stencil, you can use also some masking tape. You see that the product itself is a bit thicker. This because in the second layer, I didn't dilute it. First layer was diluted with 25% of water, and here I didn't add any water at all. Of course, it doesn't have to be in only one direction, but considering that we're using the tiles stencil, I prefer, for the purpose of the work, to keep following this kind of movements, horizontal and vertical. Now, it doesn't have to be fulfilled as you see it here. If you want, you can also skip some parts, pretend like the tiles have been reporting some damages through the ages. Now we can continue as you see it here with the same color. In case, we can also try to melt a little bit the two colors, the first one with the second one. So basically I'm just taking some of the products I applied on the first layer and this one also without dilution, and I'm applying it together with dark color. Of course, by being both of them fresh, what we'll do is create basically another color, so it looks like shadows. You can exaggerate in some parts and leave some parts a bit more soft. And the same applies when it comes to the direction. Some parts you can leave it in vertical and some others in horizontal. Okay, let's let it dry and let's take a look later on the final color. Okay, here we have the second layer dry. From before you can tell already that it is a bit lighter than before. Now, if you want, you can also leave it the way it is. So already with the second layer it is quite nice. In case you want to add something more, it is still possible. You just put the stencil where it was before, and with just a little bit of product, perhaps crossing the application on the other direction. Now, this third layer, let's call it this way, it's not a must. As you can see, I just added a little bit of product, so I don't want really to change it that much. But with just a little bit of product, we can see quite a lot of changes, especially the moment it gets dry. Okay, here we can take a look at the finished surface. So the first layer applied with the brush, 25% of dilution. Second layer as it is, so without dilution and with the stencil. And third layer, if we can call it third layer, because it's just a little bit of product here and there just to make some shadows. And this is the final surface. Now, in case you can also, by using some sandpaper, in this case I'm using the 240, just scratch it a little bit. This will make the shadows a bit more soft. Now, another option, for example, is what you see here. So basically I did the same with the third layer. The only difference is that here I didn't put it in spots here and there. I just started from the higher part and followed, adding a bit more product on the third layer. So it looks like the tiles softly are disappearing. Of course, here the process is the same. We can also sand it if we want, but of course it's not even necessary. I think that already without any sanding, it is quite nice. Here's another panel where I left on purpose more shadows, so at least more color. All right.